What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Birds of the Roundtable. Today, we're breaking down our top 10 interior offensive linemen in the 2026 NFL Draft. Joining us, he is Ryan Reese at Philly Sports PSA. What's good, Ryan?
Not much. It's been a little while since I've been on. Took a little sabbatical, but I'm back now and ready full steam towards the draft.
Yes, sir. We're going to pump up the content, maybe 2 positions every week heading into this thing. Also joining us, David News, PHL on X. What's up, David?
What's going on, man? How are y'all? Doing good. Glad to see Ryan again. I see that he dyed his grays. Look great, man. You look awesome.
If you've been following along, we've been pretty bullish on this 2026 NFL draft class in comparison to previous drafts. And tonight we're talking about a pretty solid group, I think, top to bottom. We're actually talking top 10. We're going to run through our 10 through 6 and then spend a little more time with our top 5. Let's jump right into this thing. I'm going to lead off with Yeager Burton out of Kentucky, a guy that absolutely dominated the East-West Shrine Bowl, dominated the combine, a crazy 4.45 short shuttle, 28 reps on the bench, elite broad jump of 9.7 inches, great production at Kentucky, 0 sacks, 0 quarterback hits, and 12 pressures in over 800 snaps in 2025. Yeager Burton's a guy to watch in that day 2 range. My number 9, Jalen Farmer out of Kentucky, also Kentucky. Yet another one of the high risers in this draft. Ran a 4.93 40-yard dash, 9.69 RES score, and I think he's a guy that's really on the rise. Started maybe as a day 3 guy, is now into that day 2 range. Very good athlete, heavy hands, strong, mean, can be over-aggressive at times, needs to be more consistent, but I think he's a lock for day 2. My number 8 is Brian Parker, the second out of Duke. I think he's the Graham Barton of this year's class. Another guy who went to Duke and made the transition from tackle to center, and I think that's where he's going to be. But he's got really good length. He's got really good versatility and experience playing at Duke. Really good pass protector. I think he'd be a great fit for the Birds, in that day 2 range. Parker Brailsford is my number 7 out of Bama. Another ridiculous athlete. Obviously, playing at Bama, he's got a ton of experience, high competition level there. And his numbers at the combine were off the charts. 1.7 10-yard split, 4.95 40-yard dash, 9'10" broad jump. Not the biggest guy, doesn't have a lot of anchor, but man, that guy can get out and move him. Last but not least, my number 6, and I might be an idiot putting him this low, but Chase Basantis out of Texas A&M, just ridiculous numbers at the combine, an absolute beast, 9.85 RES score, elite physical tools, a guy that screams Howie Roseman from top to bottom. So that's my 10 through 6. I'll throw it to you, David. Did you have any guys on that list in your top 5?
In my top 5, I had Chase Basantis. I think I have him like top 40 overall. I love his game. Just a well-built, versatile guard, brings functional strength, controlled aggression, plays with balance, leverage, shows the ability to sustain blocks, handles the interior defenders really well, consistent, dependable starter, scheme flexible. And just to touch on a few of the other guys you mentioned that I had in my, top 8, that's about as deep as I went. Jalen Farmer, a guy, powerful, thick build lineman, strong anchor, downhill mentality, thrives in the run game, needs to clean up some stuff in hand placement and the pass protection. And then the other one you mentioned, Brian Parker, I like him, but for opposite, he's like technically sound and strong in pass protection, but probably needs to build plane strength to anchor consistently more in the run game. But after that, we can roll into the top 5 after Ryan.
And I think all those guys I just listed are day 2 locks. I think they are. I think it's a really good group. Stark contrast to our other lists, especially when we're in that 6 to 10 range of our positional rankings. Ryan, did you have any of those guys listed in your top 5?
Just Basantis as well. Actually, I think I had him all the way up at number 3. I just think you typical dude. You always hear great in a phone booth. That's him. Got amazing short area quickness. His foot speed is top notch for interior linemen. He's able to get underneath his defenders, even though again he's a big dude, able to win that leverage battle early and often. He's got just fierce hands and. Yeah, I don't know. He's just. I feel like he would be an amazing fit here in Philadelphia, and yeah, the just to kind of comment, this group, if you will, this top 10 or whatever the top 10 will end up being, yeah, is an absolute day one, day two type of group. And we don't have a lot of those this year, as Daz kind of alluded to. So it's always good when it seems like the Eagles might be going this route that the top portion is deep and could make an immediate impact.
Yeah, I feel like it's a class that doesn't get enough love. Like people are saying things like, "Oh, the tight end class is the deepest it's been in years." I feel like we should be talking that way about this class. I think it's really solid. Maybe it doesn't have like the elite kind of guards that we've seen, like what was it, Lindenberg and all those guys that I absolutely love. But yeah,
It
let's
has
get into it.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it has one.
yeah. Well, we'll get to him. We'll get to him in a moment. Yeah, that actually would be a really good conversation. All right, let's get into. Does anybody have anybody else they want to bring up before we get into number 5?
Nope.
Going once, going twice. All right,
Sold.
let's get. Go ahead.
No, I know. I was just saying 3 times sold.
Okay.
Never mind.
All
It
right,
was not
I'm
wrong.
going to lead off into my number 5, and that is Emmanuel Pregnan out of Oregon. Hopefully, you can see it on your screen. 314 pounds, 11-inch hands, really good power, hard-nosed blocker, finisher's mentality, 35-inch vertical at the combine, tied for second best among linemen, first among interior blockers, 9'3" broad jump. The reason why he's a little bit down on my list is he's kind of that old school target that the Birds typically rely on, a guy that relies on anchor, relies on power to win. Pregnon is well put together, good frame, a guy that has really good footwork, especially in pass pro. His length, he's got great length, makes it difficult for defenders to get through him. I think his run blocking approach can be a little too reliant on that power. His pad level can be too high at times. He's not an elite run blocker, but I think there is a reason that he's in my top 5. I think his current strengths are far more aligned with protecting the pocket than creating displacement on the ground. And I think in a zone heavy offense that plays to those strengths, that should be able to get the most out of him from the jump. So I really like his fit, honestly. And for a team like the Birds that I think is going to prioritize pass protection and space blocking, I think he's got some value and developmental upside. So give me Emmanuel Pregnan out of Oregon for my number 5. Does anybody else have him in their list?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I had him third.
Third. Wow. Okay. Tell me, what do you like about him?
Yeah, I mean, everything you said, he's technically sound, clean hand usage, strong anchor. He holds up well against pressure. He operates with good awareness and body control, as you mentioned, which is something the new offensive line coaches have kind of been talking about. And that body control allows him to stay square, and he's efficient in the way he moves. And he just has a relatively high floor at the next level. I mean, he's probably a top 50 overall prospect, in my opinion.
Ryan?
Yeah, I
Any
actually
thoughts?
had him number 2.
Okay.
He didn't allow a sack in the 2024 season. His intelligence, his awareness, the technique, the positioning, everything is so consistent, especially in his pass protection, that it allows him to be his quarterback's best friend. And he also has this just nastiness, when finishing, a block that, I think is noticeable when you watch him. He loves just absolutely burying people into the ground. Sometimes a little after the whistle too. But you want that edge, and I think he absolutely brings it with a matching physicality. So yeah, I think he's the type of person that mentality is infectious, and I think he would go a long way, to any offensive line that he joins.
Agreed. All right, Ryan, who's your number 5?
So I went with Jake Slaughter, center out of Florida. This guy is amazing in pass protection. Is just an absolute rock. Just has this strength that he's able to keep his quarterbacks clean, but he's able to kind of match power for power. But he's also got a quickness to him, and he's got a great intelligence. For a center, out there constantly identifying pre-snap, adjustments and protections, in a blink of an eye. And so you really see that really processes quite quick. He's another great finisher, in my opinion. Somebody that has a little bit of an edge to him and really relishes the ability to put somebody into the ground. But yeah, I think for me, he's the top center. He's a 2-time captain for Florida and somebody that's well respected there. Yeah, I will say that, he definitely can struggle a little bit on, being too aggressive. It certainly needs to kind of rein that in a little bit. But, again, that's something that can be coached for sure. And, yeah, I don't know. I just think he's going to excel in the next level as a center. You're going to get somebody who's consistent and a leader out there.
All right, that's awesome. David, did you have a different number 1 center in this class?
Yeah, I had Connor Lew.
Oh, that's awesome. We all have 3 different centers. That's fantastic.
Yeah. I went with Connor Lew. I think he's the youngest. He's 20 or 21 years old. I'm going with the upside there. He's a very cerebral center, quick feet, natural feel for protection. His ability to diagnose and react to pressure pre and post snap is very impressive when you watch him. He brings solid technique, mobility, and most importantly, he's just a really good communicator. And I think he has the athletic traits to hold his own in pass protection. But yeah, that's pretty much, why I went with him over Slaughter. I think Slaughter turns 24 this year. And when it comes to prospects, I am a bit of an ageist. So, yeah, I tend to go with the younger guys.
Was Connor Lew your number 5?
He is. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
All
Yeah,
right.
I had him just off. It was honestly, I think there's 3 or 4 centers right there that, depending on what you like and what you looked at, could be your number 1 center.
Deibs number 1 is who I had 6 overall.
No,
Yeah,
right
next to Lou. I went back and forth with them.
Yeah. Well, and then there's also from Kansas State, Sam Hack, who I think deserves to be kind of talked about in that group.
Definitely a day 2 guy, no doubt about it.
It's kind of a nice segue because my number 4 on my rankings is Logan Jones, center prospect out of Iowa. The guy just blew everyone away at the scouting combine. He ran the fastest 40-yard dash of any offensive lineman at 4.9 seconds. His 10-yard split, 1.74, excellent. Just a super athletic blocker, especially in space. Excellent mover. He measured 3/4 of an inch taller and 3 pounds heavier than Tyler Linderbaum did at the 2022 combine. And if anybody remembers that draft, like Linderbaum was like one of my favorite prospects in that year's draft. And Iowa, they are a blue blood program when it comes to producing offensive linemen. Logan Jones has terrific initial burst off the snap. His first step is excellent. He looks great getting into the second level. And I think that athleticism and like a zone blocking scheme at the next level is really interesting to think about. His anchor, I think, is better than his size suggests. He obviously he struggles against bigger nose tackles, and that probably will be a problem in the NFL. So adding mass without losing mobility will be central for him going forward. But I think this is a round 2 pick for me, for any team that wants elite athleticism in the trenches. And I think it would be a really fun pick for the Birds if, the board doesn't fall exactly the way that the team wants it to fall, and they got Logan Jones. I could imagine a lot worse results. Anybody have Logan Jones in their top 5?
I had him 6th, but everything you said, just technically sound guy, tough, good leverage, strong communication. He anchors well, like you said, for his size. Very well in the run game. He manages protection with consistency. He's just reliable interior presence over and over again. Yeah, really good player. I have him in the 3rd round, but nonetheless, really good player.
All right. I'll throw it back to you, Ryan. Who's your number 4?
So my number 4 is Keelan Rutledge.
Nice.
I
That's awesome.
hope I'm saying his first name right. But yeah, this is a guy who is just an athletic freak. In high school, he was a state champion shot putter, 1,000-point and 1,000 rebound. In basketball, he ended up going to Middle Tennessee State, and then transferred to Georgia Tech, and just had himself, 2 really solid years at Georgia Tech, starting all games there for the Yellow Jackets. He's got great hands, powerful hands. He kind of gets his hands on his defender, a lot quicker than most. And it kind of throws people off. He's also just able to anchor, whatever the defender is able to throw at him. He's got a real anchor type to his, blocking. He finishes blocks with aggression. Again, that kind of seems to be my theme of talking to my guys about the last couple of guys here. But he's just an athletic freak. He showed that at the combine. He has a 5:05:40 and the fastest shuttle time among all linemen. He's versatile. He can play, all 3 positions, interior positions, and did so at the Senior Bowl. He's durable. He's very tough. He was in a horrible car accident, I think during his sophomore season or right after the sophomore season, but was able to start all games, all 26 games he came across in his junior and senior season. So, yeah, this is a guy that I like his attitude. I like his mindset. He's a leader on his team, and people certainly look to him. But he's great at run and pass protection. One thing I'll say is his footwork needs to improve a bit. Sometimes he can get a little bit choppy. When defenders are kind of crossing him up, a little lateral movement, and then some of his balance and body control, again, snap to snap, just needs to get a little consistent. But dude's a monster, and you watch film on this guy, and just again, you can tell the intelligence is there, and just the processing speed at such a high rate, and a dude who just loves to hit. So that's what I look. That's what I look for in interior offensive lineman, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's my number 3, and I just love his fit in Sean Mannion's offense. He played in a Georgia Tech offense that already featured a lot of high volume, quick passing game, screens, movement plays, and I just love that projection in Philadelphia. Not this is a kind of pick that would not really be sexy, not generate a lot of love from Eagles fans, but I think within a year or 2, Eagles fans will love this selection. David, any thoughts?
Yeah, I have him number 4. He's probably my favorite realistic interior offensive lineman that they will get. Like a couple more who we'll mention shortly, I like a little more, but realistically, I think at pick like 68 or something, I think he would be Very good value there. He's just strong, hard to move, technically sound, long arms, violent hands, solid anchor, man. Just a mauling power. And he's ultra competitive and fueled by that compelling backstory that Ryan mentioned. If you haven't read about him and you're interested in those kind of things, check it out. It's a very cool story. And he met with the Eagles in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. They're interested in him as well. He's, a really good fit, like you mentioned, in the new offense. And this draft season, I've done a little differently. I kind of tried to focus more of my time on players who I thought were Philly fits, is what I've been calling the series since October. And he was one of the first guys I picked for this back in October. I just think he is just such a great fit. So I'm really excited about him, and wherever he ends up, like you said, Deibs, he's going to be a pretty beloved guy on the offensive line pretty quick.
Agreed.
Hey, what you doing? Are you doom scrolling other people's vacations? Miami, San Diego? With Expedia, your trip can earn rewards which you can use towards your next eligible stay. Soon, people will doom scroll you. Expedia, the one place you go places. Terms apply.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Tap the banner to learn more and get a quote at USAA.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
So he was we're on number 4, correct?
That was my number 4, yeah.
David, did we get to your number 4 yet?
He was my 4 also.
Okay, so Keelan Rutledge was my number 3. I'll throw it to you, Ryan. Who was your number 3?
My number 3 was Besantis. So we already talked about him, right?
David, who was your number 3?
Emmanuel Pregnon, who we've already discussed as well.
All right.
So on to 2.
We are rolling. All right. Number 2 is a guy that we already discussed. He's one of my favorite players in this year's class. David, you had him at tackle. I'm moving him to guard. Easily one of my favorite prospects in this class. He was Iowa's starting tackle the last 3 seasons, but I think his home will be at guard. His arm length is well below average, but outside of his physical limitations, there's so much to love. He's got a hulking frame. You look at the hairdo, must be nice. But his contact power, his ability to drive defenders off the ball, strong core. He's a former wrestler, former track star. And I think moving him inside will allow him to play to his strengths and mitigate those weaknesses. His RAS score was an 8.2 for an offensive tackle, but at 9.65 as a guard in this year's class. I think he's got Pro Bowl upside at right guard for the foreseeable future. I am bullheaded on this guy. This guy's been one of my favorites for a long time. So it's been kind of nice to see him crush the draft process. But I think he's terrific. I think he's a round 2 guy. I would love for the Eagles to get him to have that, like, be a right guard, but maybe like play some tackle in a pinch at, if needed. But as a guard, I think he's got so much upside. Anybody have thoughts on Jennings Dunker?
Dude's a monster. And I think, David, I know we had him technically as a tackle, but
we both said he'd be IOL.
Yeah, exactly. Your thought process is pretty solid, that he'll most likely kick inside. But yeah, it's hard not to like this dude. I mean, he personifies that kind of old school toughness, and he just looks like a dude that just eats, sleeps, and just breathes. Getting dirty with an interior offensive linemen. He would be an instant star in Philadelphia. Star.
Yes.
He reminds me of the guy from Georgia last year, Tate Rutledge, with the hair and all that.
Yeah.
Just kind of that kind of dude. He's just like I said, those Philly fits, man. He's just molded as a physical, power-driven offensive lineman. He thrives in the run game, anchors well. He has the versatility to play outside, but I agree his home is probably projected inside at guard. And it just makes him a, ideal developmental piece for a team that could use him in a pinch, but develop him more. And I think I have him like 64th overall or something. So a team will probably take him in round 2. He could be very early round 3 maybe, but Yeah, great overall player, and somebody you would definitely root for, like we were just mentioning a minute ago about shoot whoever Keelan Rutledge. I think they're both two of my favorite interior guys there.
All right, number 2, Ryan, who you got?
So we already talked about my number 2 from Oregon, Pregnon.
Nice. Okay.
So yeah, this
right.
this is a dude I'm just kind of super high on, and you just look at him, he just literally looks like a man among children. It just jumps out to me. So that's kind of why I have him as the edge there to get my number 2 spot. But again, we already talked about him, and Deibs, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm just I just there's something about him that it just made me want to put him up a lot higher. So
Yeah. And the fact that he's an older prospect, I don't think will scare away the Eagles at all. So
yeah,
good prospect. David, who's your number 2?
We discussed him already, Chase Besantis.
My gosh.
Yeah. Yeah,
no.
like I said, I have him as a top 40 player in this draft. I absolutely love that guy.
Yeah. All right. So I think this is unanimous. He's definitely by far the clear number 1 guy here. Let's go. I'm gonna butcher this. Vega Uwane out of Penn State. Who wants to take this one?
I'll go first. I mean, he's unquestionably the number 1 guard in this draft. Some draft people have him as the number 1 offensive lineman in this draft. I mean, they think he's going to be that effective, but he's just a insanely powerful and quick interior presence, plays the edge in the run game, which would fit perfect with what the Eagles want to do, consistently generating movement at the line of scrimmage. He has heavy hands, strong base, the ability to anchor versus the power rushes. And he shows great demeanor in holding back with his physicality on the inside. I think the sweet spot for him might be at 14 with Baltimore, but if he fell past them and got to 17, 18, I honestly think he'd be one of the few players that ever has been at guard that the Eagles could actually move up and get. I mean, I think he's that big of a difference maker.
I love him. I think he's got all pro upside. Be prepared, because when we do roll out our big board, he's going to be probably in my top 10.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And I think he's a bona fide star, and he's a perfect fit. This is one of those prospects, and I've said this from months ago, like if he's available when the Eagles are on the clock, you run to the podium and just set it and forget it. And he's your guy for the next 10 years. Ryan, any thoughts?
Oh yeah, I mean the more and more I look at him and watch tape or old games, again being from the area, we were able to watch and have access to Penn State games quite regularly. Yeah, I mean he's just his pass protection is fantastic. I mean hasn't given up a sack in over 2 years. Just I think, what was it, 4 hurries out of 613 snaps from last year? I mean, geez. I mean, if that doesn't tell you the entire story, I don't know what will. What separates him is his hands, his grip ability, and the strength behind it is honestly, it seems like he's cheating somehow. It's so good. He just once he gets you, it's hard to get out of it, and it's very noticeable when you focus in on him during plays. Yeah, I don't doubt the defenders will want to avoid him in the pros. That's how good he is. So yeah, I'm kind of with you there. If he slips past 15, 16, 17 in there, I'd go up and get him. The offensive line, regardless of who our coach is and regardless of what our scheme is, has always been the backbone of this offense. And you have a need. You can improve at right guard. You don't know how long left guard's going to be around. Go get yourself a stud. this would, again, it wouldn't be sexy, but I'd sure as hell love it.
I'd be really excited.
Yeah.
Really excited. All right. That's our top 10 interior offensive linemen. Hang with us. We are coming right back after this, breaking down our top 5, maybe top 10 defensive tackles in the 2026 NFL Draft. Ryan Reese, final thoughts on this class. Plugs, time.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. This class doesn't necessarily get a lot of credit for being how good it is and how deep it is. And the names that we talked about tonight are all day 1, day 2 guys, honestly. And there are a lot of hungry teams for interior help. And there are a lot of really good players that are going to be able to fill those roles. Yeah, probably more than your normal, in the first couple of rounds, you'll see some of these interior guys go. Generally, you might have 1, maybe 2 centers. You're probably going to have 5 or 6. So there's definitely some dudes here. So keep an eye on them.
David.
Yeah, I mean, I think y'all nailed it. I think it's one of the more underrated classes in the draft. I mean, when you're talking about having, 8 interior linemen that could potentially go in the, top 100, that's kind of a little unusual. I mean, even Jalen Farmer probably could make it a top 9 or 10, actually, if, depending upon where they go, they're kind of teetering around 100. So, yeah, I like this class a lot. And most importantly for Eagles fans, I think there's 3 or 4 of these guys who would fit beautifully onto their roster right away. And like Ryan mentioned, a lot of people just keep talking about Dickerson potentially retiring, but you can also upgrade Steen right now as well if, you got somebody at the top tier like Vega.
All right, guys, that's our top 10 interior offensive linemen. We will be back in a few minutes talking defensive tackles, our first defensive position through this draft process at Birds of the Round Table. He is David. He is Ryan. I am Deibs. We'll see you in a few. Stay awesome.